Welcome to online lecture series. This is Dr. Ramnath Andhale, Assistant Professor in Department of Zoology, KRT Art, BH Commerce and AM Science, well-known Catechism College, Nasik. Today we also discuss about the F.Y.B.Sc class, semester 2. In that we are specifically discuss about the zoology paper first as a title, Animal Diversity Part 2. In that, already few parts we discussed in the previous lecture on the chapter number 1, the phylum Aschel. Today we discuss about the in phylum Aschel. The topic is the economic importances of phylum Aschel. Basically, this all the phylum Aschel, that means they are nematode worms. They show the some parasitic mode of life, and they also they are important to study the human society. Before this we go to the today's section, I also suggest to the some prerequisites. In that, the invertebrates is one of the reference book available in our Catechism library. In that, this book is written by the Dr. R.L. Kotpal, and in this books you can specifically go through the lesson number 4 as the phylum Aschel economic importances. Similarly, the another book is available in the market and our Catechism library, that is Animal Diversity Part 2. This book also published by the Vision publication, and this written by the Dr. B.R. Kakote and other colleagues. In this book you can specifically go through the lesson number 1 and the last part of lesson number 1. These are the you get the good information related to economic importance of the phylum Aschel. Okay, before initiate the today's lecture, we just take the quick review of previous section or previous lecture, and then we start the today's lecture. In previous section we also discuss about the classification of phylum Aschel. You know that the phylum Aschel is divided into the 5 class: the Rotifers, then Nematomorpha, then Eunorchia, then the Nematoda, and these are the classes that divide into phylum Aschel. And these 5 classes, the one of the class, that is class Nematoda, is well successful group in that, and this successful group we also go through the detail of nematode worms, and this class of Nematoda we also discuss about the different silent feature of class Nematoda and example of them. Similarly, same tempo we going to the today's lecture. The part of today's session we also discuss about the economic importance of the phylum Aschel, because the phylum Aschel, the most of the animal group shows the parasitic mode of life, and this parasitic mode of life is divided into the 2-3 way we can go to the study part. As some nematode worms shows harbor on the human body. They also act also known as a human parasite. Some nematode worm is harbor to the plant, also the plant parasite, and some nematode worms is harbor on the domestic animal. They also commonly called as the domestic animal parasite. These all are this nematode worm is doing or act as a endoparasitic mechanism in the host body. Okay. After learning these lectures, we can get it the knowledge. What you get it, the very first, you student understand the mode of life of the nematode worms or phylum Aschel, and this cavity worm you can understand. This cavity worm is very important to understand the concept. They are harmful to the anthropological society as well as some ecological importances is found the phylum Aschel or the nematode worms. Then the economic importances, we are specifically discuss about what they are, how they are economically important to the this nematode worm, to the anthropological or human society, as well as the ecological importances. Basically, these all are phylum Platyhelminthes. The successful group is the nematodes. These nematode worm, these we can call it the worms. That means it's the vermiform, worm-like body, and this worm-like body, they harbor on the any host. They cause the effect on the its economy as well as the health. The economy and health, the damage to the host body, ultimately this is very, very dangerous to the host. Then after the extensive, these all the nematode worms, they cause the extensive damage to the host body, and this is also we want to the study on the related part of the economic importance point of view. These nematode act as a parasitic mode of life. They are parasite on the man, they are parasitic on the plant, and sometimes they are also parasitic on the domestic animals. Firstly, we can just this whole animal, this shows that this phylum Aschel as a parasitic mode of life, and this parasitic mode of nematode worms, they are divided into the three parts. Very first, those nematode worms harbor on the human body, or they are used as a platform as a human, as a host. That parasite or that nematode, we can call it the human parasite. Then those Aschel or nematode worm is harbor on the plant body. These are the plant parasite, and those nematode worms harbor on the domestic animal, that also called as a domestic animal parasite. On the three point of view we discuss in the today's session. Basically, we are just go to the human parasite, nematode worms as a human parasite. This nematode, we can just know about, this is a worm-like animals. They are act as a endoparasitic in nature, and all the nematode ones also affect on the economy and health. Which are they? These are the human parasite, act as a human parasite. We learn or take the few typical example. Very first, as a roundworms, then the pinworms. Also we know that there is a weepworm. Then we also discuss about the filarial worms, then gonia worms, and the African eye worms. This part we discuss in this human. They all are the example of the human parasite as a nematodes. We go to the detail one by one. Very first, you can look at the pictures. This picture is observed that we can see that this nematode or this nematode worms as roundworms, they harbor in the small intestine, and they increase the number of these worms. They make it the blockage of intestine, and at the one stage the whole this intestine burst due to this number of population of the roundworms. Okay, we just go through how the life cycle of the roundworms. At the very first stage, we can observe that here this embryonated larval stage is covered with the thick cuticle, and this stage is ingested through any food content or any drink content. They enter to the human body. This is ingest by the embryonated egg. This is the infective stage. They enter to the body and directly they go to the harbor on the small intestinal part. They enter to the small intestinal part. Ultimately, the larvae are cuffed and swell into the re-entering in the gastrointestinal tract, and they mature and proceed in the small intestine. In the small intestinal part, they are mature, and we can look at this is small size worm. It is a male worm, and the large one is a female worm. The worms are mature, and the few worms are penetrate to the intestinal wall, and they infest to the lungs. They also cause infection to the lung, and these other worms they fertilize and they produce after fertilize and they produce a number of eggs. These eggs are also mixed in the fecal matter, and finally through the fecal matter they come across to the outside the environment. They come to the environment. There is a unfertilized eggs. Again, the fertilized eggs. Then these are the investigation stage. There is diagnostic stage. This we can check it or diagnose it. The fecal matter investigation. If these eggs are observed in the fecal matter, you can easily to detect it. This person is suffered from the ascaris. Okay, then their development is carried out. There is 2-cell embryo, then multi-cell embryo, and finally they develop the embryonated eggs with the third installed larva. And this third installed larva again waiting for the next normal man infestation or ingestion. That means the Ascaris lumbricoides, there is required the only one host as a human being, and this act as a definitive host for the Ascaris lumbricoides. And Ascaris lumbricoides is endoparasitic nematode worms for the human beings. Then if the nematode worms is a roundworm is entered to the body, and what are the symptoms they come across in the human? Okay, firstly there's infested roundworm infested man firstly shows the symptoms as a nausea. Then they also show the or sometimes they vomiting. Then the person is shows the or they cause some symptoms like to the irregular stool or diarrhea. Then in intestinal wall or in intestinal they show the some part of intestine they make it blockage, and which also cause the severe pain and vomiting of that person, because the fecal matters and the digestive system they make it blockage. Ultimately there is very dangerous situation to that patient. Then ultimately the intestine is blocked, that the digestion is stopped, and ultimately loss of appetite. Then the visible, this one of the investigations had already been discussed in the previous slide. The fecal matter we can visible the some worm in the stool. They also the diagnosis this person is suffer from the roundworms. Sometimes this patient also the abdominal discomfort or pain in belly, and this is also the various pain happen in that patient, and ultimately as the day is going on the person is lost the pet. These are the number of symptoms observed in the infection of the roundworms in the patients or the human beings. Next, the another worms, this is known as the pinworm, and the pinworm is also shows the same life cycle like to the Ascaris lumbricoides. Here again there is the human being is act as a single host for the pinworm, and after same like to the as the entry of these eggs of the pinworm to the food or anything contaminated drinking, this stage the infestation is carried by the human being. These eggs is enter to the body, they hatch it, and they also harbor to the duodenum part of the intestine. In the duodenum the larvae grow, and after the larvae grow larvae develop, and the larvae finally this larvae is mature as the adult worm, and the adult worm is entered to the large intestine as a cecum. And the large intestine as a cecum area, there is make it the mating is completed in that area. After mating, the male will be die after mating, and the female they starting the harbor to the colic content, the feeding the number of the fecal matters they colicant, and they feed it, and they produce a large number of eggs, and this travel through the large intestine, and they emerge out the number of eggs they lay it, and they spread the contact to the reinfection or retroinfection is continuously. The again retroinfection, the fecal matter is come outside, the eggs that develop, and again they waiting for the next infestation. That means this is a infective stage, and this is diagnostic stage observed in the pinworm. Again, the pinworm infestation, what are the symptoms observed in the patient? Firstly, this patient shows or cause itching of anal area or vaginal area. Then the nausea, insomnia is observed in that patient. Irritability is observed in that there is not stability, the irritation is increases. Teeth grinding is one of the symptoms observed in the pinworm infestation. Then restlessness, this is one of the another symptoms observed in the infestation of pinworms. And lastly, the occasionally stomach pain and nausea is observed in the pinworm infestation patient. Okay, then we can also discuss about the next type of the nematode worm. It is a weepworm. And how is the weepworm life cycle? It's again similar like to the Ascaris lumbricorum and the pinworm life cycle. Just there is embryonated egg, the larva stage is covered with in cuticle, and they ingested through the some contaminated food or larvae. In drinking, they enter to the body. They directly goes to the small intestine, and they hatch out this capsule, and they emerge out the larvae to the small intestine. In the small intestine, again the larvae is mature and went to the large intestine. Also the large intestine, male and female one, again copulate it, and the female also lay the number of eggs, and the eggs are mixed in the fecal matter, and finally they eject out to the environment. Unembryonated eggs again develop the 2-cell, 4-cell, and embryonated eggs embryo, and finally there is embryonated eggs are ready for the ingestion, and they are waiting for the next host. That like life cycle is continuously going on in the weepworm. Again, weepworm also require the only one host as a definitive host, and the weepworm act as an endoparasitic organism or endoparasite to the human body or human. What are the symptoms observed in the weepworm? There is a bloody diarrhea, then painful of frequent distension observed in that patient. Abdomen pains is observed in the patient. Nausea, vomiting, headaches, then sudden unexpected weight loss is going to and the fecal inconsistency or inability to control the defecation. These are the few major symptoms of the infestation occurred by the weepworms. Then we go to the next type of worm. It is hookworm. The hookworm, what is a hookworm and how it is little bit slightly the life cycle is vary as compared to the pinworm, roundworm, and weepworm. We can look at the pictures as like here these worms as like to these are the piliform larva. The piliform larva is penetrate to the skin and enter to the body. After entering in the body, the infestation is started in that stage. They enter to the body, and ultimately this larvae can be development is arrested at dormant tissue, and the reactivated to enter in the intestine. These piliary worms is found in the tissue. They are arrested in the development, but they are enter to the penetrate to the small intestine. They get a number of food material is available in this intestine, and they enhance the development. Then these larvae can exist in circulation, as well as they also go to the lungs and the livers. Then they are starting the cough and the swallow. Finally, these worms are mature in the small intestine, and the male main ankylostoma and the female ankylostoma they develop and they form the copulation, and they produce a number of eggs and mix in the fecal matter. Again, through the fecal matter, the intro infection is starting, and this is again the diagnostic stage of in fecal. They observe some eggs of ankylostoma. The detection is carried by the laboratory analysis, the stool analysis. There is eggs is investigate. This also detect out the person is suffer from the hookworm. After the eggs are development is complete outside the environment, and they hatch out the rabbitoforms larva hatch from the eggs, and this larva again develop in the environment and form the filiform larva, which is again waiting for the next human host. Again, same like his infestation stages slightly vary. Other pinworm, guinea worms, weepworm, the directly infestation through the mouth, but here the infestation is occurred due to the skin penetration. Which are the symptoms we can observe in the hookworm? Basically, there is the very initial stage of infection observed. That time in that patient there is no any symptoms observed in its initial stage, but the infestation is increases. Heavy infestation is occur in the patient. They cause the abdominal pain, diarrhea, then loss of appetite, weight loss, and fatigues, as well as anemia. These are the symptoms observed in the high or heavy infection caused in the human beings. Similarly, the next worm as the filarial worms. This life cycle is little bit complicated to the previous nematode worms. The Vaucheria buncombe, they require the two hosts. One is the intermediate host like mosquito, and other one is the host is the human being. In that, the human being is act as a definitive host because their all reproductive cycle is completed in human life cycle, and the mosquito is intermediate. The few stages develop in the mosquito. What happen in here? The infested mosquito is bite to the human being. At a biting time, they release some saliva. Through the saliva, there is this larvae is enter to the skin, and the larvae is enter to the skin. These all larvae spread or go to the lymphatic system. The adult microfilary larvae is go to the whole lymphatic system is distributed, and the number is increases due to, and this male and female filary larvae or microfilary larvae, they develop or produce a sheath like microfilary. These migrate to the lymphatic system and peripheral system. The lymphatic system and peripheral system, they are spread in all over the body. In the next time, the another mosquito is visit to the or bite to the human being, and that in blood mail they easy to transmit the human to the mosquito, and they enter to the mosquito. This microfilary is again penetrate to the midgut and migrate to the thoracic muscle. In the first instar larva and the third up to the third instar larva, their development is occur in the thoracic tissue, and then the microfilary is migrate to the head and proboscis of the mosquito and ready for the next infestation to the human being. That means this Vaucheria buncombe require the two hosts. One is the definitive host and other one is the intermediate host. The mosquito is act as an intermediate host and human being is a definitive host. Then symptoms of the filarial worms. We can observe that the acute symptoms like that. The acute symptom, we can observe that the local inflammation of the skin, the lymph nodule and lymph vessel. But chronic symptoms, we can observe that there is a oedema, thickening of skin and underlying the tissue. That means this in that may be the acute infestation or it may be the chronic infestation. The arms, vulva, then breast, scrotum, they cause the hydrocele development, hydrocele formation, and they also can affect the or cause the elephantiasis in the human beings. Then the gonia worms, this is again same pattern like to the next nematode worms, is observed as a human parasite, and this gonia worms is also the through the some phytoplankton like copepod. They enter to the copepod. This micropillar is found in the copepod, and this contaminated there is drinking water is enter to the body. This goes to the stomach. The larvae is host of the stomach and intestinal wall. They can mature and reproduce, but they after reproduce there is the worms are penetrate to the skin and enter to the muscular system. They went to the spread in the periphery or muscular skin system subcutaneous of the skin, and they're ready for the infestation to the next, and the blister discharge of larvae is happen in these gonia worms. This at a time what the human being come in contact to the waters, this worm is eject out to the small blister or discharge of larvae is enter or eject out from the human body, and they enter to the water. This water also there these larvae is again waiting for the some zooplankton as a copepod as a daphnia, enter to the body and again ready for the next infestation. That like the infestation is continually going on of the gonia worm in the human being to the intermediate host as a copepoda daphnia, and other one is the human being. What are the symptoms observed in the gonia worms? We can look at the mild fevers, then swellings, the slow and disabling of pain observed in the patient. Sometimes they found the nausea and vomiting, the diarrhea, then secondary bacterial infection observed, or some allergic rashes observed in the skin surface, dizziness and joint infection and the locking of the joint. These are the number of symptoms observed in the infestation of the gonia worms. Then the same like to the sister groups of the Voucher boncopti is the African eyeworms, and we can see the symptoms. There is directly the worm is entered to the eyeball of the human beings. The African eyeworm is also commonly called as the loa. This loa life cycle is also needed for the two host. One is the grasshopper fly and other one is human being. The grasshopper fly, the grasshopper fly is same like to the biting of blood meal. There is this micropillary is enter to the human body. They enter to the human body. They again development start in the human. They develop these all the micropillary. They are distributed in subcutaneous tissue and they develop the male worms and the female worm of loa. Then the adult, they produce the micropillary sheath and they found to the spinal fluid, urine, sputum, peripheral blood and the lungs. These all distributed all over the body. Again the grasshopper larva is visit for the blood meal, and through the blood meal they enter to this grasshopper fly, and again this grasshopper fly, this micropillary is penetrate to the midgut and go to the thoracic muscle. Again the development start and they migrate to the head of grasshopper fly, F.Y.B.Sc area, and they ready again. They waiting for the next infestation. Like this life cycle is continuously is completed in the grasshopper and human being, and infest to the first one person to the other person. Okay, these are the human parasite. Then we discuss about the plant parasite. The plant parasite, again they are nematodes. They worm-like animal, infect to the economy and health, and the extensive damage to the host and the parasitic to the plant. The one of the nematode, this is the Tylenchis angulilla. These worms is a infest to the different type of the spinach, then tubers, onion, some leafy vegetables. They cause the some uh, tuber like, or there is some node like structure observed on the tuber surface or the onion, and this is one of the symptoms observed in the plant body. Same like the another type of the nematode worm is the Heterodera maroni. We can observe the picture A. There is this worm is infected to the radish, and the lower part is get damaged, and only upper part is remaining. In B pictures, we can also observe the sometime there is carrot or radish. They are observed that the small headlet growth observed on the surface of the tubers, and this also the indication to the infestation of Heterodera maroni. We can observe that the more clear in the picture D and E. Then we can also go to the third part. Some nematode worm are the parasitic for the domestic animal, and in that we can again these are the nematodes. Then same like the worm-like body, effect to the human health and extensive damage to the domestic animals. We can just the one of the example is Hetereachis gallini. This is the one of the worms. They enter to the the chicken body and live in the gut. The gut wall there is male and female worm. They copulate and they produce a number of eggs, and these eggs are again transferred to the fecal matter. Similarly, some eggs are ingested by the earthworm, or these eggs are remain as a bedding fecal or any soil surface. Again, this casting the earthworm casting the eggs are remains as it is in the casting, and the chicken again feed on this cast or same surface area. They feed it, again hatch it, and the infestation is continuous circular. There is only one host in the Hetereachis gallinus. That means in gallbladder there is infestation is happen. What happened at the primary level? There is no seen any symptoms, but the heavy infestation occur by the chicken or turkey. Observe that some symptoms are like inflammation and thickening of cecum, appearance of the nodules, and numerous small bleeding observed in the cecal wall of intestine. And the one of the major symptoms observed in the birds as like to the egg production is in a layer can be significantly reduced. This is the symptoms observed in the domestic animal as a chicken. Then the next one, there is a Toxocara canis. This is another domestic worms infest to the domestic animal as a Toxocara canis. Basically, this infestation is carried out the dogs, then cat, then rabbit, some bird, and again these worms are pass through the fecal matter. They enter to the development is occur in the environmental stage as the external development is observed, and the embryonated eggs again ready for the infestation to the dog, cat, rabbit, and human being also. They also the ingest to the human body, and they also migrate to the different part of organ. They migrate, and the infestation is caused by the human body. What are the symptoms observed in the Toxocara canis? The first one, there is mild severe diarrhea observed in the patients, then vomiting, then gaggings, also some observe the weight loss, weakness, then dull hair coats observed on the body skin, the poor skin condition observed that Toxocara canis infestation, loss of appetite, then abdominal pain, whimpers or cries out observed in that abdominal pain, then distant abdomen, and the stunting growth of puppies. This is one of the major symptoms observed in that, and visible worm in the dog vomit or stool. This is a investigation or diagnostic stage of the infestation of the Toxocara canis. And lastly, this all domestic animal is suffer to the anemia and abdominal obstruction or the rupture observed in the this intestinal wall. Okay, now we can just go to the how is the mode of life cycle of phylum Aschel. You go to the lecture and you get it good information related to mode of life cycle of nematode worms. Then is it pinworm as a human parasite? You can go to the lecture and you get it knowledge about that, is yes or no. Okay, this is time for you, is a small assignment for you. Just you can write a note on economic importance of the roundworms. Then you can also write a note on the plant parasite and the domestic animal parasite. You can complete your assignment on plain paper and upload on your Google Classroom, as well as you can also this same assignment is mailed on my mail ID as a Ramnath @kthmcollege.sc.in. Okay, now we can go to the quick review of today's session. We can observe we can go to the discussion of the economic importance of the phylum Aschel. It may be the three type: the human parasite, then some nematode worm are the plant parasite, some nematode worm are the domestic animal parasite. The human parasite, the roundworm, then the beepworm, gonia worms, Boucheria buncopti cause the Impotances, then the this plant worm, the plant worm Tylenus gallinus. These are the observed we can in the plant worms. Then the domestic worms, these are the different worms we can observe in the discuss in the today's lecture. Then this whole part we can discuss in the today's session. Then now in the next lecture we can discuss about the introductory part of phylum Annelida, and we also discuss about the general characters of the phylum Annelida. Okay, thank you. We can go through the next lecture in the next part.